Hello, everyone. Welcome back. I am Jenn Pike. And if you've never been to my YouTube channel before, two things. Number one, go and subscribe here. Make sure you never miss an episode. And number two, I am a functional medicine diagnostic nutritionist. I have a specialty in women's health, hormones, fitness, and nutrition. And I'm also a medical exercise specialist. And at 42, I was losing hair faster than I was growing it. And I have always had a very thick head of hair. When I was a little kid, I used to bawl when it was hair washing day and I had a thick ponytail. And around the age of 42, when I was showering, I started to notice, oh my gosh, there's a lot of hair coming out when I run my hands through it that was on the floor. And this went on for a couple of years. I was going through a tremendous amount of stress. Things in the world a couple of years ago were just very stressful. We had made a cross-country move. My company was growing faster than it ever had, which was amazing, but there was a ton of new responsibility that was coming with that. I wasn't able to actually take care of my own body the same way that I was teaching and supporting women to take care of theirs. And I started to realize that my hair was not the root cause, but it was a very loud, strong messenger that was trying to get my attention as to what exactly was going on. And I was not going to be able to fix this by simply switching up my shampoo or my conditioner, that there was going to be systemic changes that I had to make and that I was going to have to start to do a little bit of digging. And so I'm sharing this with you all because my hair growth has improved tremendously, but also the hair loss has slowed a ton. Now, I will tell you, I'm 46 years old now, okay? Newly. I'm only like 46 years old in 4 weeks, but I still have more hair loss than I did in my 20s and my 30s. And this is part of perimenopause. This is part of changes happening with our minerals. This is part of our thyroid. This is part of our nervous system. And so I want to start this episode off by saying, I am not selling you a product. I am not selling you a lotion, potion. I am not going to sit here and be like, in 90 days, if you do what I'm telling you to do, you're going to have a thick ponytail again and you're never going to see hair come out. I think that's bullshit, to be honest, but I'm going to be honest with you and I'm going to teach you. These aren't 6-minute videos that I'm going to create for you. I'm actually going to teach you so that you can take a deep breath. You can drop your shoulders. You can maybe hear something to explore about your hair loss journey that no one else has asked you before and no one else has said before. And I would love to hear in the comments if this helps you. So let's talk part one. Okay. So again, I'm going to come to this through the lens of what I was experiencing because when I share this in programs that I teach and I share this on my podcast, we always get a ton of women saying, oh my gosh, this was me too. Hair loss at 42, yes, there was stress going on, but I was also starting to go into perimenopause. My cycle length was starting to get a little bit shorter. I was noticing very subtle changes happening, nothing major. I didn't have no hot flashes and night sweats and those kinds of things. But what happens behind the scenes is that as estrogen and progesterone are starting to decline, your hair growth cycle shortens. And so what that means is you go through different phases of hair growth, and then there's a resting phase, and then there's a shedding phase. Now in perimenopause and menopause, it's so fun. The rest phase can be longer, the shedding phase can be longer, and the growth phase gets shorter. Amazing. Because what we weren't taught about our bodies is the importance that estrogen plays, like the huge role that it plays in our body, not just in terms of giving us shape on our body and breast and thickening the uterine lining, but also beautiful, shiny, thick, lush hair. Estrogen helps things to grow. And so what's happening is that we're getting into perimenopause and menopause. That estrogen, it is meant to keep our follicles in that anagen or growth phase. And when the estrogen hormone starts to decline, the follicles start to shift prematurely into the shedding phase, which is the telogen phase. We don't like that phase so much, okay? And so the new hairs that grow in, they're often finer, they're slower, they're not quite as strong, which is why women will notice that if they are, and I'm going to tell you something I stopped doing, if they're combing their conditioner through their hair, if they're vigorously brushing their hair a ton, if there's a lot of, mechanical breakdown, always blow drying it, curling it, heat, styling, that they're like, oh my gosh, not only am I losing my hair, but there's a ton of breakage that's happening. And the scalp might actually start to become more visible, especially in the crown around the temples. I didn't have that happen, and I bless the heavens of just because I had so much hair. But I know a lot of women where they actually started to have more bald-like spots. And what I'm talking about today, this is not alopecia. I'm not talking about autoimmune conditions that impact that type. I am talking like you are having so much hair come out when you brush it or when you wash it. Now, progesterone's role is that it naturally buffers the effect of your androgens like testosterone and DHT. And without that, DHT can actually start to miniaturize the hair follicles. And that is what happens with male pattern thinning. And so, one of the things that I did for myself, I mean, I ran full blood labs because I wanted to see what was going on with my thyroid. I wanted to see what was going on with my iron. I ran an HTMA test on my hair to see what was going on with my minerals. And then I also did stool testing to understand what was going on and some urinary testing. Now, I'm just going to say I'm a practitioner, ladies, so I have access to running these tests. And I was like, I'm going to run them and see, I need chemistry from my body. Like, what is happening inside of her? My Dutch test showed that my DHEA actually wasn't a problem at this point, and that had been a problem previously when I suffered from acne. My adrenals were pumping out a lot of DHEA. I was converting it mainly into a 5-alpha pathway, just stay with me on this, into a lot of DHT. So it was becoming more potent, and that's what was contributing to oily skin and to acne. And I thought for sure when I was getting the hair loss, oh my gosh, it's up again. No, it wasn't. In fact, my adrenal function was in the crapper. My DHEA was low. So in my case, it wasn't testosterone or androgens to blame. It was a lot of stress that was just robbing my body of nutrients and putting my nervous system into a chronic state of fight or flight. And if your body doesn't feel safe, your body's not like, I know that we have this tiger we have to run away from every day, but also I want to give you lush hair and I want to give you great skin and I want to make sure you ovulate this month. No, your body's like, whatever, lady, go put a flipping hat on if you're cold. You don't need to have beautiful hair. We have danger coming after us. You need to run your ass out of this situation. So when you're not safe, your body goes in, it doesn't ask you permission, doesn't send you a text message to let you know this is going to happen. It starts to go in and correct balances. She's stressed. Do not have this woman ovulate this month. She is stressed. We're not focusing on hair growth and skin regeneration and muscle recovery and sleep. We need to actually just make sure that we can keep her alive because there is something big going on. We are dumping out cortisol at an alarming rate. She is not recovering. So cortisol and stress play this big buffer. High cortisol doesn't just make you anxious and it doesn't just make you wired. It shunts nutrients away from growth and recovery as a whole. So hair growth is part of that. Chronic stress is also depleting a ton of your nutrients, your vitamins and your minerals, and key minerals like zinc and magnesium and iron, which are needed for follicle activity. Okay. And so a lot of women will go through a stressful period of time. In the stress, they don't have the shedding of the hair. The shedding typically comes 3 to 6 months after. And this could be physical stress, emotional stress, hormonal stress. So it could be hormones, it could be your environment, could be relationship, something with your child, a parent. It could be that you are training way too intense, you're not eating enough. There can be a lot of different reasons. You could have an autoimmune condition and you've been stuck in a flare. It can also be low thyroid function and even subclinical low thyroid. So it's so difficult nowadays for women to really know what's going on with their thyroid if they're not going to the right practitioner. Your family doctor has been trained on how to measure your TSH, which is a pituitary brain hormone that stimulates the thyroid gland. But if we're not measuring your free T4, free T3, we don't look at total uptake, we're not looking at things like potentially your thyroid antibodies, we're not going to get this full picture of what's going on at the cellular level. Like if you have hair loss, you have no energy, you're bloated, you're cold all the time, you're constipated, you're gaining weight. These are all indicators of a thyroid issue, not just a hair issue. So that's why I'm saying don't just go run to the pharmacy or to the hair salon and go buy some expensive hair kit. Go beneath the surface and understand that the hair that's growing out of our head is a result of what's going on in your cells and in your body. And that's where you really want to start looking. Your gut plays a massive role in this. So stool testing, like we run stool testing, I ran stool testing. Turns out I had some active H. pylori. My lining of my gut was not doing well. She was in chronic fight or flight. I had to go in and calm and cool some things down. Your detox pathways, if your body can't do a good job at breaking down what you're eating, it's not going to be able to absorb your nutrients. You have to digest your food. You have to be able to absorb the nutrients out of your food. You have to be able to excrete the waste so that your body doesn't become stagnant and therefore toxic and impact other pathways, including hair growth and skin regeneration. And then if you have anything inflammatory going on, maybe you have a lot of allergies and sensitivities, you have a very strong histamine response in the body. Maybe there's certain genetic SNPs, MTHFR, or other SNPs going on that are creating some issues. So these are things I want you to think about in terms of the possibility. Now, I will say when it comes to products, if you're using a lot of salon grade, just very toxic products with tons of fragrances, perfumes, phthalates, this is not going to end well. And we're not just talking about for the quality of your hair, we're talking about your endocrine system. These are all known registered xenoestrogens and endocrine disruptors. There are products that are still allowed to be used in your hair care, your skin care, your home cleaning care, your oral care, your feminine product care, your nail polish, your makeup, everything that are carcinogens, that are known to contribute to an increase your risk of cancer, that are known to contribute to an increase your risk of thyroid disease, of fertility issues, and so much more. So the quality of the products that we are using is also really important. So check out apps like Think Dirty app, the Environmental Working Group, and start to educate yourself on those things. Now, when we talk about root cause, like for me, how I finally got things to stop happening was I had to be really honest with myself and recognize just how much stress I was under, because I was trying to just keep everything going, doing it all by myself. And then I had to do the testing so I could actually see the evidence. And when I saw my thyroid, when I saw my minerals, when I saw and I just saw the whole picture, I was like, okay, I have to make some shifts because it was seriously impacting my self-esteem and my confidence in so many ways. And I'm on camera all the time. And so I didn't just go buy some biotin gummies to choose and believe that only taking collagen was going to make the difference. I use collagen, but I knew that that alone wasn't going to be the big needle mover. So I did the functional testing. I really evaluated my nutrition. So I have always eaten healthy, but what I realized is I wasn't getting enough during that stressful period of time. I definitely wasn't getting in enough carbohydrates. And so I started to increase my carbs through my fruits and my veggies and squash and sweet potatoes and rice and beans and lentils and those types of things. I upped my protein from that time. I was getting maybe 100 to 120 a day to around 150 grams a day, which now I sit between 130 and 150. Sometimes I don't quite hit the 150, but that protein helps to build the keratin. And oftentimes your protein sources, which are loaded in amino acids and collagen, can help contribute to that as well. I started to use minerals and electrolytes to support my adrenal function, which was supporting the follicles, but also the minerals, which were supporting my thyroid and my adrenals and my cell health as a whole, making sure I was still getting my healthy fats in. And then I was really looking at where I was at in that perimenopause scope and what was happening with my cycle. I was making sure that leading into my period, I was not doing heavy, intense strength training. I was doing more Pilates, yoga, still walking. I was eating a little bit more instead of trying to restrict, which sometimes I was just doing by accident. I didn't even realize I was doing it. I started to use functional mushrooms and adaptogens. Aversio is the company that I use, Aversio Wellness. And so I got into a really good regime of minerals, my rehydrate electrolytes from within us, my collagen from them. I actually started to have matcha every single day. Prior to, I was using a dandelion-based powder, which I still love, but the polyphenols and antioxidants in the matcha, which is a fine organic Japanese green tea powder, they just had more benefits that my body actually needed at the time. And then I brought in, like I said, those adaptogens, reishi and lion's mane, turkey tail. I use a whole system. I'm Aversio. If you follow me on Instagram, you can see me share a lot more about it. And then I got to do that work on my gut, support my liver, which is a big one. And like I said, restore my thyroid and metabolic function. So you really do, if this has been something you are chronically struggling with, I want you to realize as well that your hair is not the root cause, it is the messenger. And hair loss is not about vanity, it's actually about vitality. And so we get impacted because is It impacts your self-esteem. Like I said, I felt that. But the vanity piece is actually about our vitality. And if our hair is starting to show us signs that something's going wrong, we need to be able to step into supporting it in a different way. All right. And oftentimes the last system of the body to shut down is the one that's going to give you the biggest, frustrating, most annoying in your face kind of symptoms. And so the reality is that I was not just under stress 6 months before my hair started to fall out. I had been under stress for probably 2 years. As the company was growing, as the world was going through what it was going through, we were moving our family. There was a lot happening. So being honest with yourself and then understanding the journey back, once I got my nutrients on point and I got the minerals in, the electrolytes, I started to bring in some iodine and selenium. And again, I'm not telling you to go buy these things. I'm sharing what worked for me. Okay. I noticed within about 3 months, the amount of hair falling out stopped. It took longer for the hair growth to come back. And I am almost 4 years, well, 3.5 years post this journey. And I just came through another stressful period of time where I started to notice the hair loss again. And I went and got myself back on the same regime for my body. And I've already started to notice a difference. So if your hair is thinning, please do not give up. Okay. You're not broken. You just need to get your body back in balance and need to realize things like your nutrition matters. Please don't live in a constant caloric deficit. Please stop over fasting. Do things like I will tell you, I massaged rosemary and peppermint oil into my scalp. I used castor oil. I used red light therapy. The one that I love is Orion. I used red light therapy lying on the ground on my scalp every single night for 10 minutes. I just got regular trims. I stopped coloring my hair completely. You can probably tell. And I just really got serious about taking care of myself. I got my butt to bed. I cut 2 classes a week out of what I was teaching fitness wise. Walking, I made cool again. I stopped spinning as much as I would. And listen, I want to say something. I'm not telling you that spinning is why you're losing your hair or your fitness class is why you're losing your hair. I'm sharing that for me, these were the things that I recognized where I was like, I'm in a season in my life where I actually need to do less better. And that has made a big difference. So ladies, I hope this has helped. Subscribe for more hormone education. And if you want, go and click this link below. And I have an entire perimenopause and menopause support guide. It's totally free. There's also a blood work guide. You can click on whichever one you would like or both. And the blood work guide, I actually take you through the things to ask your doctor for, or your nurse practitioner, or your naturopath, what some of these different results can mean and how to dig deeper. So have a beautiful rest of your day, everyone. Thanks for being here, and I will see you back next time.